Karen Mitchell's smug face crumpled as her own daughter handed us the ledger proving she'd swindled thousands from our neighborhood. But that bombshell was still weeks away. Before I continue the story, write a comment below. Where are you watching from? Like if you want to constantly win in any conflicts. It all started with a neon pink slip screaming $150 fine slapped on my windshield one crisp Raleigh morning. All because we dared park 3 cars in our own driveway. I ripped it off, my heart pounding like I'd just run a mile. 3 cars, mine, Dad's, and my sister's rusty Honda she'd hauled back from UNC for the weekend, sat innocently on our patch of Oakwood Estates asphalt. I stormed inside, the paper shaking in my fist. Dad, you won't believe this. Some HOA tyrant fined us for parking at our own house. Dad froze mid-sip, coffee steaming from his UNC mug, while Mom spun from the stove, her fuzzy slippers squeaking on the tile. What? She gasped, spatula waving like a battle flag. Who's got the nerve to pull that? Karen Mitchell, Dad growled, snatching the slip. His eyes narrowed, scanning the fine print like a detective. She's been lording over this HOA since she moved in last fall, runs it like her personal fiefdom. Karen? The yoga pants queen from across the street. Mom's voice shot up an octave. I waved at her last week, and she glared at me like I'd kicked her precious Lexus. Yep, that's her, I said, slamming my hands on the counter. What's her deal? Next, she'll fine us for laughing too loud. My chest tightened. This wasn't funny anymore. It felt like a declaration of war. Dad grabbed his phone, his jaw clenching so hard I thought he'd crack a tooth. I'm calling her. This is insane. He hit speaker, and we huddled close, the ringtone slicing through the tension. Then came her voice, clipped. I see. Oakwood Estates HOA, Karen Mitchell speaking. Karen, it's David Carter, 312, Elm Street, Dad said, his calm barely masking the fire underneath. We got a parking violation for 3 cars in our driveway. My daughter's home for spring break. This has to be a mix-up. Her laugh slithered through the phone, sharp enough to cut glass, and my skin crawled. No mix-up, Mr. Carter. Section 6.2, 2 vehicles max per driveway. You broke it. Pay the $150, or it's $300 in 10 days. Click. She hung up. She just hung up? I sputtered, my voice bouncing off the walls. Who does she think she is? The Queen of Raleigh. Mom's spatula clattered into the sink, pancakes sizzling into charcoal behind her. That woman's got some gall. Dad set his phone down, his knuckles wide around his mug. She's a control freak. I've heard rumors. Fines for mailbox colors, flower pot sizes. But targeting us? That's personal. I darted to the window, yanking the blinds aside. There she was, Karen, standing in her driveway, clipboard clutched like a weapon, her blonde hair glinting as she stared straight at our house. She scribbled something, smirked, and turned away. My blood boiled. She's watching us right now. I hissed. Dad joined me, his shadow falling over the glass. Karen Mitchell, he muttered. She's about to learn she picked the wrong family. So we're fighting back? I asked, my pulse racing with a mix of dread and thrill. Oh, we're not just fighting, Dad said, a spark flaring in his eyes. I work at First Citizens Bank. Guess who reviews HOA loans? Me. Let's see what skeletons she's hiding. Mom abandoned the stove, her face lit with defiance. You think she's up to something shady? I'd bet my next paycheck on it, Dad said, already reaching for his laptop. Across the street, Karen probably thought she'd scared us into submission, sipping her fancy coffee without a care. She had no clue the storm we were about to unleash, or that her reign was already cracking. Karen Mitchell thought she'd buried us with that first fine, but she didn't count on the fire she'd lit under our quiet little street. 2 days after the pink slip hit our windshield, I was sprawled on the couch scrolling X when another one appeared, tucked under our mailbox like a venomous snake. Violation. Lawn height exceeds 3 inches. Fine. $75. I bolted upright, my phone clattering to the floor. Dad. She's at it again. He stormed in from his home office, tie loose and hair mussed from hours hunched over his laptop. What now? He demanded, snatching the slip. His eyes blazed as he read it. I mowed that lawn 4 days ago. It's barely 2.5 inches. Mom rushed in, her real estate law books tucked under her arm. She'd been brushing up since Karen's first strike. This isn't a fine, it's harassment. She snapped, her voice trembling with fury. We need to lawyer up. Not yet, Dad said, his tone low and dangerous. He tossed the slip onto the coffee table and grabbed his phone. I've been digging into Oakwood Estates financials, public records for HOA members. Last night, I found something big. They're after a $1. $5 million loan from First Citizens for a community pool upgrade. My jaw hit the floor. Your bank. My bank, he said, a slow grin spreading across his face. And guess who's reviewing it? Yours truly. They need my approval by April 15th, 3 weeks from now, or the project's dead. I hooped, pumping my fist. She's toast. You can tank her precious pool. Dad's grin faded into something sharper. It's not that simple, Emily. I can't just deny it. I'd lose my job. But I can request a full audit. If there's dirt, we'll find it. As he dialed his bank's audit team, I darted to the window. Karen was out there again, measuring our grass with a ruler like some suburban dictator, her blonde ponytail bouncing with every smug step. I whipped out my phone and snapped a pic. Evidence, baby. She's got no idea what's coming, I muttered, my heart racing with a mix of glee and nerves. Meanwhile, across town at the HOA office, Karen was probably barking orders at her lackey, Lisa Harper, the treasurer with a perm so tight it matched her pinched smile. I'd seen Lisa trailing Karen like a shadow at last month's meeting, nodding at every word. What they didn't know was that our neighbor, Mike Dawson, had just texted me. HOA's freaking out, Karen's yelling about perfect files for some bank thing. You guys stirring the pot. Back at home, the doorbell jolted us mid-strategy session. I flung it open to find Mrs. Patel from 2 doors down, her eyes red and clutching a pink slip of her own. Emily, is your dad here? She asked, her voice cracking. Karen fined me $100 for leaving my grocery bags on the porch for an hour. I was unpacking with a sprained ankle. Dad waved her in, and soon our living room was a war zone of crumpled fines and angry neighbors. Mike Dawson burst in next, waving a citation for his son's skateboard ramp, $125, even though it had been there for 3 years. Then came old Mrs. Evans, leaning on her cane, her voice quivering as she showed us a $50 fine for her birdbath being too reflective. She's on a rampage. I cried, pacing like a caged animal. What's her endgame? Dad scribbled notes, his pen flying across a legal pad. Power, he said simply. And maybe something shadier. Last year, the HOA collected $4,000 in fines total. This year, under Karen, they're at $98,000 in 3 months. Mrs. Patel gasped, clutching her slip tighter. That's insane. Where's the money going? Exactly what I'm asking the bank to find out, Dad said, his eyes glinting with purpose. The audit's underway, Karen won't know it's me, just that First Citizens is sniffing around. As the neighbors swapped horror stories, Mike's ramp, Mrs. Evans' birdbath, the Garcias, unapproved, porch swing, I slipped out to walk our dog, Buddy. The air buzzed with tension. At the corner, I spotted Lisa Harper's SUV parked outside Karen's house, and through the window, I saw them hunched over papers, Karen gesturing wildly. My gut twisted. They were scrambling. Good. Back home, Dad was on the phone with his audit guy, his voice crisp. Cross-check every deposit since January. I want details. Mom, meanwhile, drafted a letter demanding all HOA records for the past 5 years, her lawyer brain in overdrive. We'll deliver it to Karen tomorrow, she said, her pen slashing the page like a sword. I sank onto the couch, Buddy flopping beside me, and stared at the growing pile of pink slips on the table, $400 in fines now, all in a week. She's targeting us, I said, my voice shaking. Why us? Dad hung up, his face hard. Because we didn't roll over. But she's about to learn this neighborhood's done playing nice. Across the street, Karen's lights burned late, her silhouette pacing behind the blinds. She thought she held all the cards, but we were building a hand she'd never see coming. Karen Mitchell's empire was cracking, and she didn't even know the half of it yet. By the time Tuesday rolled around, our mailbox was a graveyard of pink slips, 5 in total, for $125 worth of nonsense like unapproved wind chimes, and a mailbox 2 shades off regulation black. I slammed the latest one on the kitchen table, my hands shaking. She's unhinged, Dad. This is war. Dad looked up from his laptop, his tie flung over the chair, eyes bloodshot from late-night digging. She's desperate, he said, voice steady but edged with steel. The bank's audit kicked off yesterday. She's feeling the heat. He tapped a spreadsheet glowing on the screen. Look at this. HOA fines jumped from $4,000 last year to $132,000 since Karen took over. But their official books? Only $5,200 reported. Mom, pacing with her coffee, stopped dead. Wait, where's the rest going? That's over $125,000 unaccounted for. Exactly, Dad said, leaning back with a grim smile. And they need my bank's $1.5 million loan by April 15th. She's scrambling to cover her tracks. I grinned, adrenaline surging. So we've got her on the ropes? Not yet, Mom cut in, her lawyer voice kicking in. We need proof of hard evidence. Our records request hit her doorstep last night. She's got 30 days to cough up the real books. Too late for her, Dad said, eyes glinting. The bank demanded everything by next Friday, 9 days. She's cornered. As we high-fived, the doorbell rang, sharp and insistent. I flung it open to find half the neighborhood spilling onto our porch, Mike Dawson, Mrs. Patel, the Garcias, even shy Dr. Kim from the cul-de-sac, all clutching pink slips like battle scars. Karen's lost it. Mike bellowed, waving a $90 fine for his dog's excessive barking ironic, since Buddy's yaps were louder than anything. We're done taking this. Mrs. Garcia shoved forward, her eyes blazing. She fined us $60 for our porch light being too bright. It's been there for 8 years. Dr. Kim nodded, holding a $75 slip for his unapproved herb garden. I grew basil for my patients. She called it a visual nuisance. Dad ushered them in, our living room turning into a buzzing hive of outrage. Listen up, he said, raising his voice over the chaos. I've got the bank auditing the HOA's finances. Last year's fines were peanuts, now they're raking in cash, but it's not showing up. Something's rotten. Mike's jaw dropped. You're saying she's stealing? Maybe, Dad said, measured but fierce. Or funneling it somewhere. The audit'll tell us. Across town, Karen was oblivious, or so she thought. My friend Sarah, whose mom worked part-time at the HOA office, texted me mid-meeting. Karen shredding papers like a maniac, screaming at Lisa to fix the numbers. They're toast. I showed Dad, my pulse racing. She's panicking. Good, he said, scribbling notes. That's when mistakes happen. That night, the HOA board meeting loomed like a showdown. Oakwood's community center was packed, chairs overflowing, people lining the walls, a sea of angry faces I'd never seen united before. Karen strutted to the podium, her heels clicking, blonde hair perfect despite the sweat beading on her forehead. Order, she barked, banging her gavel. We're here to discuss the pool upgrade, loans on track, just some minor bank questions. Dad stood, calm as a predator. Karen, I've got a question. Your January report showed $5,200 in fines, but neighbors here paid way more. Where's the rest? Her smile froze, eyes darting to Lisa, who shrank in her seat. Those haven't processed yet, Karen stammered, her voice pitching high. Next item. Hold on, Mrs. Patel shouted, standing shakily. I paid $100 6 weeks ago. You cashed it next day. The room erupted. People yelling, comparing fines, a chorus of me too, rising like a wave. Karen's gavel slammed again, her face flushing red. This is a smear campaign. Mr. Carter's twisting facts because his family can't follow rules. Dad didn't flinch. All I'm asking for is transparency, same as every homeowner here. Explain the $125,000 gap. She froze, mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Then Lisa bolted upright, whispering something frantic in Karen's ear. Karen's eyes widened, and she banged the gavel one last time. Meeting adjourned. She screeched, fleeing the podium as the crowd roared. Outside, Mike clapped Dad's shoulder. You rattled her, Dave, she's crumbling. Maybe, Dad said, watching Karen's Lexus peel out of the lot. But she's not done fighting. Back home, I couldn't sleep, replaying her meltdown in my head. Around 1 a.m., headlights swept our street. Karen's car, idling outside our house. My heart thudded as she stepped out, clipboard in hand, scribbling furiously before speeding off. Morning revealed her next move, a $200 fine pinned to our door for landscaping debris, our pristine yard untouched. She's unhinged, I whispered, showing Dad. His face darkened. She just handed us more ammo. Across the street, Karen's lights flickered late again, her silhouette hunched over papers. She thought she could bury us in fines, but the neighborhood was awake now, and her throne was teetering. Karen Mitchell's reign was teetering on a razor's edge, and she didn't see the cliff until it was too late. The morning after her meeting meltdown, our front yard looked like a crime scene. Every flower Mom had planted ripped up, petals scattered like confetti, and a fresh pink slip pinned to the door, landscaping debris. Fine, $200. I stood there, fists clenched, my breath fogging in the chilly Raleigh air. She's lost it, Dad, she trashed our garden. Dad stormed out, still in his pajama pants, his face a thundercloud. This isn't a fine, it's vandalism. He yanked the slip free, then froze, pointing at our doorbell camera. Wait, check the footage. I bolted inside, heart hammering, and pulled up the app. There she was, 2:03 a.m., Karen in a black hoodie, clawing at our flower beds like a feral raccoon. She flinched when our motion lights blazed on, then scurried to her Lexus and peeled out. "We've got her," I yelled, my voice cracking with triumph. "She's done." Mom raced in, her robe flapping. "Send that to the police now." As I forwarded the clip to Officer Rivera, Dad's phone buzzed, his bank's audit team. He put it on speaker, and a crisp voice filled the room. "Dave, we've got prelims. Oakwood's books are a mess, $142,000 in fines collected this year, but only $5,200 locked. And get this, 3 prior loan apps denied for discrepancies." Dad's eyes lit up like fireworks. "So she's been cooking the books?" "Looks like it," the guy said. "We're escalating this. State regulators are next." Across town, the neighborhood grapevine was on fire. My phone pinged with a text from Sarah. "Karen's at the HOA office shredding stuff. Lisa's crying, saying they're screwed." I showed Dad, grinning. "She's imploding." But Karen wasn't out of tricks. That afternoon, she cornered me at the mailboxes, her manicured nails jabbing the air. "Tell your dad to approve that loan," she hissed, her voice low and venomous. "This pool's for everyone. I'd hate for your family to drown in fines if he drags this out." My stomach flipped. She was threatening us, right there under the oak trees. "He follows bank rules," I shot back, stepping away, my hands trembling. "If your books are clean, you've got nothing to worry about." Her eyes narrowed, and for a second, I swore she'd lunge. Then she stormed off, her heels stabbing the pavement. I ran home, spilling it all to Dad. His face went stone cold. "She just crossed a line," he said, dialing his bank's legal team. "That's coercion. They're looping in the DA." That night, our street buzzed with strange vibes. Tires squealed past at 3 a.m., our trash cans tipped over in the dark. Mom hugged me tight as we cleaned up the mess. "She's scared," she whispered. "We're close." By Friday, news vans lined Oakwood estates. Word had leaked. A reporter shoved a mic in my face as I stepped off the school bus. "Is your dad exposing an HOA scam?" I froze, but Dad swooped in, cool as ice. "No comment yet, but soon." Inside, Mom was on the phone with her law firm, her voice sharp. "Yes, the DA needs this yesterday. Fraud, coercion, the works." Then my laptop pinged an email from Sophie Mitchell, Karen's daughter. Subject, Safe Combo, 12-36-9. Real records inside, hurry. My heart stopped. "Dad." "Sophie's flipping on her." "Don't touch it," he snapped, peering over my shoulder. Could be a trap. But I hesitated. Sophie and I had Kim together. She'd always seemed miserable trailing Karen. What if she's legit? Next morning, the HOA emergency meeting hit like a tidal wave. The community center was a madhouse, standing room only, air thick with sweat and fury. Karen took the podium, her smile plastic. "These rumors are baseless. Our finances are spotless," she chirped, flashing a pristine spreadsheet. Dad stood, voice cutting through the din. "Those numbers don't match the bank's records, or the $142,000 in fines we've paid." Karen's gavel trembled. "You've got no proof." Mike Dawson burst in, breathless, clutching a battered green ledger. "Found this in the HOA safe. Sophie gave me the code." The room gasped as he flipped it open, handwritten entries, every unlogged dime. "Matches the bank's data." Karen lunged, shrieking, "That's theft." But Sophie stepped forward, pale but steady. "I gave it to him, Mom. I'm done covering for you." The crowd roared, Karen's face crumpled, her gavel clattering to the floor. Dr. Kim, the quiet herb guy, stood up. "My laws say we can vote her out, now." Hands shot up, 89% said yes. Karen staggered out, Sophie trailing her, whispering, "This had to end." Back home, Dad sank into the couch, the ledger beside him. "It's over," he said, voice heavy. "But the DA's just starting." Across the street, Karen's lights went dark, her Lexus gone. She thought she'd silence us, but her own daughter lit the match that burned her down. Karen Mitchell's fall was louder than a Carolina thunderstorm, and we were still picking up the pieces when the dust settled. 2 days after the HOA meeting implosion, moving trucks rumbled up to her house across the street, her Lexus nowhere in sight. I watched from our porch, Buddy panting beside me, as movers hauled out her fancy furniture. "She's really gone," I whispered, a weird mix of relief and unease swirling in my chest. Dad stepped out, coffee in hand, his face softer than I'd seen in weeks. "Just got off with the DA," he said, leaning against the railing. Karen cut a deal, full restitution, $182,000 back to the HOA, plus penalties. No jail time if she stays clean. No jail. I spun around, my voice spiking. After all that vandalism, threats, stealing? She's broke, Emily, Dad said, his tone heavy. Selling the house barely covers it. The DA's chasing bigger fish. Turns out she and Lisa were tied to shady HOA schemes across Wake County. State's digging deeper. Mom joined us, her lawyer notepad tucked away for once. Justice isn't always handcuffs, she said, squeezing my shoulder. She's lost everything. Her power, her legacy. That's punishment enough. As we stood there, a familiar figure trudged up our driveway. Sophie Mitchell, her hoodie pulled tight, eyes red but steady. Hey, she said, kicking at a pebble. Mom's moving to Charlotte, my aunt's place. I'm staying here, though. Gotta finish school. I blinked, caught off guard. You're not going with her? This is home, she said, a faint smile flickering. And, I'm sorry. For everything she did. I tried stopping her, but she wouldn't listen. Kept saying it was for property values. Dad nodded, no trace of grudge in his eyes. You did the right thing, Sophie. That ledger? It saved us. She shrugged, awkward but real. Maybe we could hang out sometime? You know, without all this. Yeah, I said, grinning despite myself. No fines attached. Across town, the HOA office was a ghost town. Lisa had vanished days ago, leaving a resignation note pinned to the door. Mike Dawson stepped up as interim president, and by week's end, he'd called an emergency meeting. Our community center buzzed again, but this time with hope. Neighbors laughing, kids darting between chairs. New bylaws. Mike boomed, holding up a slim packet. Fair rules, no petty fines, and audits every year. Vote now. It passed 94%, a landslide. Afterward, Mike grinned at Dad. You kicked this off, Dave. That first pink slip? Best thing that ever happened to Oakwood. Dad laughed, clapping his shoulder. Sometimes you've got to push back. Not just for yourself, but for everyone. That night, our street threw its first ever block party. Grills smoking, music thumping, cars parked wherever they darn well pleased. I stood on our lawn, paper plates sagging with barbecue, watching Mrs. Patel chat with Dr. Kim, the Garcias dancing with Mrs. Evans' grandkids. Sophie wandered over, a soda in hand. Mom texted me, she said, voice quiet. She's better. Said this mess woke her up. Good, I said, meaning it. Maybe she'll find her way. Sophie nodded, then smirked. Think we'll ever get fined for too much fun? Not on Mike's watch. I laughed, the sound blending with the hum of our reborn neighborhood. Back at the house, Dad and I locked up late, the party winding down. Our driveway was a chaotic mess of cars, 6, maybe 7, and not a pink slip in sight. Funny how it started, I said, leaning against the doorframe. 3 cars, 1 fine, and now this. Dad grinned, that mischievous spark back. Never underestimate a ticked-off family with a bank job, huh? As I headed upstairs, the streetlights cast a warm glow over Elm Street. Neighbors lingered, voices soft. A community stitched back together. Karen's shadow was gone, but her chaos had sparked something better. Real connection, forged in the fight. Drop your favorite moment in the comments. Was it Sophie's twist or Karen's crash? Hit subscribe if this hooked you. I've got more wild stories coming, and I'd love you along for the ride.